what we've been saying here. We've been requalifying, if you will, how we view religion, how we view theology, how we view things. And one of the things that we have come up with, and we sang it last week, was that love is our religion. That we felt that we could all agree on that. That you can always look at the world of appearances, the conditions, the effects that are going on, and if you're not sure what that is, it's like looking out your window. It's like watching the news. It's like looking at your Facebook feed. What's going on out there? And as you look at your world, at the landscape of the world, you can ask the question, is it love? Is what I am seeing love? Now, we've said earlier that we can't really define love, but that we know it when we see it. And so if we take a breath, what I know and trust is that there is a divine guidance system within the heart of your very own being, within your heart and soul. That when you look at something and you ask from the sanctuary of your inner being, is it love? You know the answer. You know the answer. And so a big part of what we do here is we redirect people within to their own knowing, to their own certainty. And the only way that we can arrive there is to follow love. Is to join in heart and mind with that which we say is love, and here we say that is God. And so that is what we do, and that term God is even a tricky one. It has connotations depending on how you were raised, what it might mean for you, or what it feels like for you. And one of the things that you'll hear here, one of the instructions that you'll hear is, how does it feel? Feel that. Notice. Just feel and notice. What am I thinking? What's going on in the body? Let everything inform you. Let everything assist you, because you've been given all that you need for this journey. You've been given all that you require to awaken to the truth of who and what you are. And so begin to play with trusting yourself. Begin to play with the idea that the truth isn't out there and I have to seek it, but that the truth resides within and you'll know it. You'll feel it. You'll sense it. Is it love? And if it isn't love, then it's not real. Because we say the only thing that is real is love. Now we'll talk a little bit more about that, because that can be kind of a dicey thing in this world in which we seem to be our bodies. In this world where someone just like ourselves can get lost. A friend, someone we know, someone we may not know, can be so lost in this world, could have fallen so asleep so as not to know that we are unalone. To be in such pain from a sense of separation that you'll turn to anything and everything to distract you from that pain, to distract you from feeling it, to distract you from the awareness that you're lost, that you have no clue what's going on. Such to the point that you would numb yourself with media, with drugs, with food, with whatever you can get your hands on, with relationship, distracting ourselves so that we sate the discomfort for another moment, and another moment, and another moment. That's a life of chaos. That's a life of despair. And we act out when we're in that place either by projecting bombs, literal bombs, by projecting criticism, by projecting judgment, or we direct it within. Or we direct it within. So what we talk about here is important. What we talk about here is life transforming. What we talk about here is salvation, but not in the old way that you think about it. And so you've heard the word Christ quite a bit. And for those who are new, how we define Christ here is that it is a principle with a capital P. It's a spiritual truth. It's your right identity. It is your identity as knowing that you are a perfect, holy, and beloved child of God right here and right now. That you don't need to jump through hoops and you don't need to die to get to the Holy Land or to heaven. That it is all happening right here and right now. And that the only way that we can access that is to align in oneness with God is I am. That there is only this oneness. That there is only this unification. And so last week we started by saying, well, I'm going to lose my religion. I'm going to lose the ideas of my past. I'm going to be willing to bring up to my awareness and question everything. In the sanctuary of my being, is it true? Is it true? To be bold enough to erase the board completely and start all over with what your idea of God is, or spirit is, or being is. And I always say, I don't care what you call it. I really don't care what you call it. Just as long as you do call it, and it's meaningful to you, it's resonant with you. That when you hear the word in your own mind, that there's a vibratory resonance with it. And I invited everybody to pick 5 words, 5 qualities of God for you. For you. And so I invite you, if you're new here, to do that this week. And if you didn't do it last week and you were here, do it. Just begin to keep a journal of what your idea of spirit is, of God is. If you could say what God is and what God needs to be for you, what would that be? And begin to bring it home within your own being. And then today we consider that we are one. That there is nothing outside of this relationship. I love to say this, what we did, our little exercise in the beginning. Because we'll rattle off that God is all there is. And, if God is all that there is, then what and who are you? Okay? Test the beliefs and ideas. Do they make sense to you? Now, we started with our affirmations, which is what unity says. And unity will say that God is source and creator of all, that there is no other enduring power, that God is good and present everywhere. And then the second principle says we are spiritual beings. We are created in God's image. The Spirit of God lives within each person. Therefore, all people are inherently good. What say you? What say you? That's a 21 Up Friday night catchphrase. What say you? Because it really doesn't matter what I say. What matters is what you say. So we return to the roots of unity in our metaphysical teaching. Do you guys know what metaphysical means? Metaphysical means beyond the physical. It means what is underneath all that is. Now we say that the substance of all that is God. That's what is underneath. That is what the root is. That is what is back of everything. And it tells us that God and I are one. That if God is all that there is and God is good, then I must be an aspect of God and I must be good as well. And that anything unlike that isn't real. It is an error. Now, in religion, they call that sin. But here we just call it an error. And we ask you to be made new by the renewing of your mind. Take a new thought. And that your thoughts are creative. Our thoughts collectively are so created that they have created the world that we seem to be experiencing. But in a flash of an instant of recognizing truth, of recognizing love, it shifts. The world that we see out there, that thing that we call form, that thing that we say is physical, folks, is malleable. It can change, it can shift, and if it can't, then we are lost. Because we are holy and beloved children of God. And what we say, unified in that consciousness and not unified in that consciousness, is so. And so we align. And so we return to our roots of unification. And when we do this, God is, I am, those are actually the first two steps of prayer. They're the first two steps of prayer. And once you do the first two steps of prayer, there are 5, by the way. Or not, right? Because once you do those first 2, it is truly done. The rest is just conversation. So once you say God is, and you get clear on what God is, Spirit is, eternal, infinite, love, everlasting, can't be depleted, abundance, prosperity, love, beauty. Did I say love? Beauty, joy. Once you get that, and then you align yourself with God is all that, then I am all that. Now the trick is that I didn't create myself. The trick is that there is a nuance. There is a nuance in there. I am not all that God is, but I am being. All that I am being is of God. Did I get that right? All right. So, a reading said that the Christ in you is both wholly human and wholly divine. That's different. We're usually told that the Christ only occurred in the figure named Jesus, the historical figure named Jesus, who did what we're saying and became Christ. And yet that's inherent in each of us. But here's what I want to talk about, that relationship is all that there really is. Relationship. So if I'm fully human and I'm fully divine, then why does my life not look the way that I might say I want it? And I just want to share with you a little brief story, my own story. The fully human aspect of me, a very long time ago, made a decision. Now, at that time, I believed that this decision and the thoughts that it was based on were trustworthy. They seemed trustworthy to me. And that this thought would save my life. And that I, as being a fully human person, forgot everything that my fully divine aspect knows already. I forgot that I was in perfect safety, and I believed that I needed to protect myself. So I had a thought, and this thought was that I believed, first of all, this thought I believed would protect me. I think I said that, but that's really important because I didn't feel safe, and I believed it to be true. But I made the decision that being in relationship was just too painful, that it was too risky, that to be in a fully committed relationship, I would get hurt. Not only would I get hurt, I'd get decimated, that I would be shattered, that I would cease to exist, that I would metamorphosize into something ugly, something that was not who I knew myself to be, and that I would not be able to function in the world. I'm serious, you guys. Now, it seems like, boy, she's being really dramatic. But if I really look at it, there was a decision made that colored a big part of my life. And that was that if I joined truly in relationship, I wouldn't be safe. And so I ended up proceeding in my life in a way that supported that decision. Now, on the outside, I looked fine. My hair wasn't purple or gray. I mean, I looked, I was towing the line. I was towing the line, doing what was expected of me, functioning in the world, earning a living, having a life that a lot of people might have admired at the time, but inside, this was running me. Inside, I was always living alone. Relationship was difficult. I was very transient, nomadic is what I would like to say. Didn't want to hang out anywhere for too long. Kept my bags packed, didn't put down roots. Worked in a job where I could be under the radar. I was bright and fun and cheery while I had to be there, which wasn't that long, before I'd hop on a plane and go somewhere else and meet new people who didn't know me. And so and it was a good life. Nothing wrong with the way it looks. Nothing wrong with the way your life looks. But just become aware of what's running it. What thoughts, what beliefs, what contracts, what agreements are running your life today? And bring them to the light, joined in God, and ask, is it love? And what's the truth here? And so I'm sharing this with you not to come up to me afterwards and say, gee, Claudia, I've got some solutions for you. And, sounds horrible, and I feel so bad for you. I share it with you to say there is another way, to say that what I just shared with you from my heart, that there are those seeds within you. And the funny thing about seeds and those things that we push away and that we hide is that they germinate. Seeds germinate in the darkness. They require that. They require to be disowned and forgotten, or at least brushed aside for a while. But if you don't take care of it, it will take root in your soul, in your spirit. And when it takes root in the soil of your consciousness and grows, sometimes it pops up and out in ways that just surprise the heck out of you. So if and when you find yourself having a feeling, which there's nothing wrong with it, notice, what am I thinking? Here's the feeling, and how you react. And the way you react just blows your mind, like, where did that come from? That's your sign. And it's a gift. It's a gift. It looks like a diagnosis. It looks like an addiction. It looks like being broken up with. It looks like being fired. It looks like a temper, anger, road rage. And we're never upset for the reason we think. Ever. Go deeper. Be willing to look at the ghosts in your closet, folks. They say this is a feel-good place, and we sing and we dance and we say real nice affirmations. But every week there is a spiritual practice within your bulletin there. And every week there is something for you to take to help you on this path of awakening. And we do not go alone. And so what I say is that this is a hero's journey, folks. It truly is. And there are twists and turns. But it's so much more fun to go down the road with somebody who's committed in the way that you are committed to awakening. So that when you falter, when you are in the darkness, there is somebody who can shine that light for you and say, no, that's not the truth. It ain't love, and so it's not real. And let me slap you around a little bit lovingly, but let's look at this a little differently. Seriously, I say that so tongue-in-cheek, because God is always gentle. Love is always gentle. But sometimes the truth feels jolting. Nothing can be more irritating than traversing the journey with a partner who reminds you of it when you are in the middle of it. Thank you, Tony. Nothing is worse than hearing what you hear as a spiritual platitude. But then in the silence of your own being, you know they're right. You know it's true. So today is about relationship. This is about relationship. And the only exercise that you really have, and I didn't put it in there, and you can write this down, is to dedicate every thought that you have to union. Dedicate every thought to union. When a senseless thought fills your mind, when something happens and a resentment arises, when worry comes, just repeat to yourself, I dedicate myself to union. I dedicate myself to union. And you don't have to know what that means. Your words and speaking it signal a willingness for Spirit to join you. And Spirit's not outside of you, it's your own right mind, your own awakened mind. Joining rests on forgiveness. This one's tough for me, but consider, you must forgive reality for being what it is. And reality, the truly real, is relationship. I never understood this until this week, what I'm about to say. You must forgive God for creating a world in which you cannot be alone. Did you hear that? You must forgive God for creating you in a world in which you cannot be alone. So as much as my little rule told me I had to run away, I had to go, I had to leave. I couldn't hang out here any longer. I had to forgive. If I really looked, God, for requiring that I cannot be here alone. I must forgive God for creating a shared reality before I can understand it as the only thing I would want. You see, today I know that the only thing I want is to be with you. Today I know that the only thing I truly want is to be in holy relationship, and all relationship is holy. And I'm not talking about just with your partner. I'm talking my relationship with my hand is holy. I'm talking my relationship with that chair is holy, with the fan, with this building, with this, each and every individual. It is all holy because if it is all God, nothing is outside of it. Do you hear that? If it is all God, nothing is outside of it. Nothing. So those things that we think that we don't like, those seeds that have been planted in the darkness, that have taken root, don't judge them. That ties you to it. Love them. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. In bringing it in home, in bringing it to the light and to love, it can dissipate into that nothingness from which it came. Everything is relationship. Look at your relationships, all of them. Your relationship with God, your relationship with your fellows, your relationship with creation. And know that everything is an outpicturing of your relationship with God. So if something needs to be healed out here, it needs to be healed here. God first. The first and only relationship that matters, because all of this is God.
Thank you for this